As the legal fight over Donald Trump's taxes continues, the deeper the investigation into his financials seems to be getting. A new filing by Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance reveals that his office is also now looking into possible bank and insurance fraud by Trump and his company. It's a broader scope than we first knew, and it comes as Vance continues to argue that the president must comply with a subpoena for 8 years of his taxes. At the same time, we're also learning that the longtime personal banker of Donald Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, at Deutsche Bank, a woman by the name of Rosemary Vrablic, is under internal investigation for a real estate deal she made in 2013 with a company partly owned by Kushner. Both Trump and Kushner were her clients at the time, and through the years, she has loaned them hundreds of millions of dollars for various projects. Joining us now, senior columnist for Bloomberg Opinion, someone who's been following Trump's money for years, Tim O'Brien. Let's separate the stories. Take me through the first one first. The Cy Vance looking into a broader sort of scope of an investigation that looks at bank and insurance fraud. That sounds like what Michael Cohen seemed to be hinting at when he testified before Congress on his way to prison. And I know they shared notes. What do you think this is about?
Well, I think this one is 100% Michael Cohen as one of the, every prosecutor, like every investigative reporter, Nicole, really relies on an insider guiding them through the woods. Very little of the stuff is de novo in the end. It's inside sources. And I would suspect that Michael Cohen is a key source in this. He said in his congressional testimony that Donald Trump's chief operating officer, Matthew Calamari, yes, Trump's chief operating officer's last name is Calamari, his accountant, essentially,
of course
Alan Weisselberg, and Ron Lieberman, another executive, all had knowledge of Trump routinely inflating the value of his assets in order to get bank loans and insurance policies. This came up in our litigation with him. He obviously sued me after I provided evidence in a book that he had spent decades inflating his wealth and his assets. It wasn't just a game to gain attention. It was also a tool he used to get bank loans. And you are not allowed to misrepresent yourself to banks and insurers if you want money from them. Clearly, Cy Vance said in court today that they're looking into the possibility of criminal fraud around those things. The shoe that's dropping here is we are now in the wake of the Supreme Court saying that Trump can't withhold his tax returns from a prosecutor. So his tax returns are in play. But also the other thing that's in play here, Nicole, is this will probably go beyond the election this fall. And if he's doesn't get reelected, some of the protections of the presidency are going to fall away, and he's going to have to face these prosecutors without that armor around him. So this is a very significant development.
Let me ask you about the other story in the news, and that's that his banker at Deutsche Bank, where there's been so much smoke for so many years, is now under fire internally, under investigation.
Donald Trump welched on billions of dollars in loans in the early 1990s. And after that, no major bank would deal with him. The predecessors to banks like Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, et cetera. The bank that continued to do business with Donald Trump was Deutsche Bank. They continued doing business with him even after he litigated in the mid-2000s and tried to walk away from a loan then. That is not typical bank behavior. Deutsche Bank has had myriad problems over the years involving money laundering and other issues that has gotten into trouble with regulators in Europe and the United States. They've been trying to clean up their act in recent years. And what's come to the fore now is that the Kushners and Trump's private banker at Deutsche Bank was, with a number of colleagues, buying apartments from the Kushners. That's not an arm-length transaction. It raises questions about whether she was conflicted in terms of any business dealings that she did with Trump and the Kushners. So that's being explored internally at Deutsche Bank now. And that private banking operation at Deutsche Bank is a potential powder keg. If she has to begin to provide evidence or testimony involving work she's done for the Trump and Kushners, it is going to unlock a Pandora's box for both of those families.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.